Call this meeting to order. Welcome to the 26th of October rendition of Midwest City Council. Glad everybody's here. Would you please stand, and Mr. Sullivan, would you come down and offer the invocation? We do have two cadets from Carl Albert High School leading us in the pledge. Cadet Lynn, he's a senior at Carl Albert and plans to go to college. He doesn't know where. And then Mr. Nolan, who's a senior at Carl Albert, he plans to study aerospace engineering at Go Pokes. OSU.
The Oklahoma State University.
And I do want everybody to notice that I followed through with my promise that if OSU went down and beat Texas, then I would have an OSU hat on the podium, so there you go.
Would you bow with me, please? Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that we've enjoyed today, Lord. And Father, we thank you for the occasion of this meeting. Father, the men and women serving on this council, Father, I ask that your wisdom and discernment be upon them tonight, Father, and you give them peace in their decisions. We thank you so much for their willingness to serve in this capacity and the sacrifice that they make and that their families make while they serve. Thank you for the great city that we enjoy and all the very dedicated and loyal people that we have that serve this city in a professional way as well, both in our services we provide, whether it be safety or whether it be environmental or internally. We just thank you so much for their willingness to serve this community. Thank you for the great state and nation that we enjoy, freedoms we enjoy, and those who are willing to sacrifice to defend them, who are all over the world, Father. We ask that you provide them protection as well tonight. We thank you so much for the sacrifice of your Son, Jesus. We thank you so much for the blood that was shed on the cross for our sins. And we ask all these favors in his holy name. Amen.
Amen.
At this time, would the audience please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you guys for being here this evening. Appreciate it. Okay, we move into community-related announcements. Mr. Lyon.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to start out by recognizing a couple of birthdays. Pat Burns' birthday on October 19th. Rick Faber's birthday, 10/26.
Wow.
Christine Allen's birthday, 10/31. So happy birthday to 3 council.
Thank you.
And then one other birthday that's not on the list but happens to be today is Ryan Rushing's 40th birthday, sitting in the back of the room. Halloween is this Sunday. That means it's time for Trick or Treat Trail. That annual drive-through trick or treat experience gates open at 1 p.m. this Sunday at Joe B. Barnes Regional Park. The event follows the annual Holiday Light Spectacular route starting at Southeast 15th and Century Boulevard. So just like you were going to Holiday Lights, line up. And gates will close at 4 p.m., so please arrive early. Our Halloween night trick-or-treat will be in our town from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Residents who have candy available should turn on their porch lights. Please drive safely and watch out for little trick-or-treaters on the streets and sidewalks. Midwest City's Veterans Day Parade will be held on Thursday, November 11th, starting at 10 a.m. The parade kicks off at 15th and Century, travels north on Douglas to Reno, then ends on Reno at Joe B. Barnes Regional Park. The reviewing stand will be at the East Side Church of Christ on Douglas. So please come out and help honor our military veterans this year. Our Public Works team is busy installing lights for Holiday Light Spectacular 2021. The annual light show this year runs for December 1st to December 25th, and very much appreciate the street department and other public works areas taking this project on. There was a lot of damage from last year. We've had theft, we've had a turmoil of issues to put this light show on this year, but we felt like it's important that we do this. We'll do it the best we can and start fundraising efforts to try to improve our light system in future years. So more to come on that, but we will be opening December 1st this year. There'll be an opening night special that'll include our light ceremony and the annual Walk the Lights event, which is very cool if you've never done that. It'll go from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. on December 1st, and it's at a cost of $5 per person. And then on December 2nd, that's when you'll be able to drive through. November 5th through the 7th is our 11th annual food drive to benefit families in Midwest City at Sam's Club. Friday and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Sunday 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. will be the food drive at Sam's that you can donate to. Last year, Mike, how many families were we able to serve last year?
Approximately 100 total.
Over 100 families we were able to serve last year in our community. So.
Can you repeat those times again, Tim? I've been trying to get that info
Okay,
one more time.
November 5th through the 7th,
Uh-huh.
5th, 6th, and 7th, which is Friday and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. That's only 2 days. Should be a third. Is there 3 days, Mike?
Right, Friday, Saturday is 9
Okay, yeah, I missed that, I'm sorry. Friday and Saturday is 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Sunday is 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And if you would like to volunteer to help with the food drive, you may do so by calling the Neighborhood Services Department at 739-1005, or if you have any questions regarding the food drive, 739-1005. 2 years ago, glass was no longer allowed to be recycled through our existing contract with Republic Services. After a tremendous effort and research on the part of our solid waste department, Midwest City now has an option for self-service glass recycling. Much like our cardboard recycling, we now have glass recycling. The new glass recycling convenience center is located on Jim White Drive next to the existing cardboard recycling area, and will be open during daylight hours starting Monday, November 1st. So please bring your glass to that location, save it up, and recycle like your cardboard. And then finally, tonight there's a potential for severe weather. It's supposed to be, I think, after midnight still. Is that right, Debbie? Okay, so it's ever changing, so potentially from 9 p.m. On this evening, so please be aware of the weather and look for weather warnings that may wake you up. Keep your phone close tonight. Mayor, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Ms. E, do you have anything for the council?
I do, Mr. Mayor. So first off, I wanted to send a thank you out to the Parks and Rec folks for this past Friday night was the Spooktacular movie event with Halloween Town and Hocus Pocus. And I know a lot of people had a really good time out of that, so thank you to all the Parks and Rec folks for putting that on. I also wanted to give a shout out. I happen to know, notice that we're in the midst of our Memorial Hospital grant program. So that opens September 1st and it closes November 8th. So we're getting close to the ending date for submissions for that. So, and that one's open to all eligible community agencies this year. Then I had one for following our city trick or trail event Andy's Altitude is having an event 3 to 6 p.m. with inflatables, a pirate ship ride, candy, music, and there's a free $5 game card for kiddos in costume. And the November 2nd, 6 to 7:30, there's an event at Midwest City High School to complete the FAFSA student aid form. Each high school gets a date type of thing that Rose State works with them to do FAFSA completions. I happen to know the one for Midwest City. I don't know for the other high schools, but for kiddos who are involved in that. And Midwest City High School is doing a trunk or treat in the Midwest City High School parking lot from 5 to 6:30 on, actually, sorry, that one was tonight, my bad. We just missed that, everybody. So actually, you've got about 17 minutes left, so if you need to run out to that one. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have anything for the good of council? Just a note on our Veterans Day Parade. Last year, of course, we got canceled due to COVID. Last year, we had anticipated dedicating our Veterans Day Parade to the Vietnam veterans, give them a welcome home that they never got. We continue with that effort this year. In conjunction with the parade, we will be having a Vietnam Veterans Reception at the Reed Center. We'll have a couple of guest speakers there, and we encourage, if you have any family members that are Vietnam veterans, please come and attend. Again, if you don't know your history, Vietnam veterans were not welcomed home with parades or good tidings. They were welcomed home by being spit on, told them not to wear their uniforms off base, and it was just a tumultuous time for our country. And they deserve a welcome home just like anybody else serving our country. So if you do participate in the parade, we appreciate it, and just keep that in mind. That's going to be our emphasis for this year. I believe that's all. So we'll go ahead and start with our consent agenda. These
On your proclamation.
Oh, we got a proclamation. Sorry. Can I read it from up here?
Yeah.
But you make me come down and get it.
You were already on your way, so why should I stop?
Just kidding.
I could have.
You're out of order. Whereas the city of Midwest City, Oklahoma is a community in which acknowledges the special vibrancy exists with the entire community when its individual citizens collectively go the extra mile in personal effort, volunteerism, and service. Whereas we are a community which encourages its citizens to maximize their personal contribution to the public by giving of themselves wholeheartedly, committing to their individual ambitions, family, friends, and society. And whereas Midwest City wishes to thank all the individuals and organizations within our community who go the extra mile in order to make a difference, and we are proud to support Extra Mile Day. So therefore, I'm Matthew Dukes, Mayor of Midwest City. You hereby proclaim November 1st, 2021 to be Extra Mile Day in Midwest City. Encourage all citizens to not only go the extra mile in your community, but also acknowledge those who are committed to making our community a better place to live and work. We have a lot of individuals that do a lot of volunteerism in our community, and just step up, and anytime we have something that we need, we ask, and they come forward with it. One of our food program during the holidays is one of them, and there's many others, and we've reached out to the civic groups and faith-based organizations on several occasions to help us out with people who need assistance with different things. So this is very special, and I would invite council, if you have an individual that has shown you the extra mile, please get me that information so we can bring them before council and recognize them individually instead as a group, so. But there's a lot of folks that do a lot of things in this city that go unrecognized, and we need to do a better job of recognizing their efforts. So, with that being said, we enter into our consent agenda. These items are placed on the consent agenda so that the council, by unanimous consent, can approve routine agenda items by one motion. If any item proposed does not meet with the approval of all council or members of the audience wish to discuss an item, it will be removed and heard in regular order. The chair would entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay, I do have one no vote, so I'm going to have to call for a roll call vote. Ms. City Clerk, would you commence with that?
Ward 1,
No.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yep.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 6,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. By the count, we have it approved, it's approved. So, we move into discussion items. Discussion item number 1 is, no action needed on this. The applicant requested it be removed and heard at a later date. Item number 2, Mr. Lyon.
PC 2092, discussion consideration for adoption, including any possible amendment of the replat of Lot 15, Block 5 of the Poynton City Addition described as a part of the northeast quarter of Section 6, Township 11 North, Range 1 West, and addressed as 10305 St. Patrick Drive. Mr. Harless.
Thank you, Mr. Lyon. This request is to divide one existing lot into 2 lots for residential development. There are currently no structures on the lot. The proposed lot meets the minimum standards regarding lot size. If the replat application is approved, the applicant is responsible for bringing the curb and gutter along with frontage to city standard, as well as sidewalks along the frontage of both proposed lots. The proposed lots have access to city water along the frontage. The public sanitary sewer extension is required prior to the issuance of any building permit. The applicant has agreed to fulfill all requirements, including sidewalk along the frontage and 2 proposed lots, as well as sewer extension. Approval of this replat is at the discretion of the City Council, and Planning Commission recommended approval. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions, Mr. Harless? Chair would entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Well, isn't this supposed to be a discussion item? We never asked for another thing.
It's
I'm
not a
sorry?
public hearing.
It's not a public hearing. The next 3 or 4 are. Okay, that item passes. Item number 3, Mr. Lyon.
PC 2093, public hearing with discussion, consideration for adoption, including any possible amendment of an ordinance to redistrict from R6, single-family detached residential, to C3, community commercial, and a resolution to amend their comprehensive plan from OR office retail to COMM commercial for the property described as lots 1 through 4 of the polling addition, addressed as 10012 East Reno Avenue. Billy?
Again, thanks, Mr. Lyon. This is a 1.3 acre development on the southeast corner of Reno and Post Road. The request is to rezone the property from R6 single-family detached residential to C3 commercial, community commercial. This lot is presently vacant. If this request is approved, the applicant proposed to build a Casey's General Store. No variances are being requested. Action is at the discretion of the City Council, and Planning Commission recommended approval. I'll be glad to answer any questions again.
This is a public hearing. Does anyone have anyone in the audience have any issues with PC 2093? Hearing or seeing none, the chair to entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I had a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Next item, Mr. Lyon.
PC 2094, public hearing with discussion and consideration for adoption, including any possible amendment of an ordinance to amend the Soldier Creek Industrial Park, SKIP, land unit development governed by C4 General Commercial District and I1 Moderate Industrial District for the property described as a part of the north quarter section of Section 27, Township 12 North, Range 2 West of the Indian Meridian of Oklahoma County, Oklahoma. Billy.
Thanks again, Mr. City Manager. This PUD amendment is being requested in order to allow Global Turbine Services, GTS, to utilize a large portion of Phase 1 of Soldier Creek Industrial Park for their business. According to the PUD, GTS maintains, repairs, overhauls jet turbines for both civilian and military applications. This use is not specifically listed in the zoning ordinance and is therefore not allowed in the current PUD. If approved, the development of the 3 buildings will occur in 3 phases. Phase 1 will result in the construction of approximately 25,000 square foot jet turbine test facility. Phase 2 will add an approximately 15,000 square foot jet turbine maintenance, repair, overhaul, and warehouse building. Phase 3 will add a second MRO building. The PUD lists special development regulations with regard to landscaping, parking, and height. Those are detailed further with this report. Action is at the discretion of the City Council, and Planning Commission recommended approval.
This is a public hearing. Does anyone in the audience have an issue with this particular item? Does anyone have any questions of Mr. Harless or Mr. Coleman? Chair would entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Item number 5, Mr. Line.
PC 2095, public hearing with discussion and consideration for adoption, including any possible amendment of an ordinance to redistrict from R2F 2-family attached residential district to SPUD, simplified planned unit development governed by the RMD medium density residential district, and a resolution to amend the comprehensive plan from PSP public semi-public to MDR medium density residential for property located as Lot 20, Block 5 of the Country Estates, Second Edition, addressed as 525 Bab Drive. Mr. Harless.
Thanks again, Mr. Line. This request is to rezone one single privately owned parcel from R2F, 2-family attached residential district, to a SPUD governed by RMD, medium density residential district. The applicant is requesting variances to area regulations and standards of the zoning regulations for side setback, frontage, that would be lot frontage, lot size per dwelling unit, and paved hard surface material. The applicant is proposing one single building with 4 units containing 2 bedrooms each. One access point not to exceed 24 feet wide at the approach will serve the lot from Bab Drive. The applicant is required to meet all other development regulations of the zoning code, including landscaping, masonry requirements, number of parking spaces, front setback, building and impervious surface coverage. As of this writing, staff has received 2 letters of protests to this rezoning. Action is at the discretion of the council, and the Planning Commission recommended approval. Be glad to answer any questions.
This is a public hearing. Does anyone have anything, anyone in the audience have anything about this particular item? Does anyone in the council have any questions, Mr. Harless?
I'd like to hear from the applicant.
Jeff Johnson, 5 Northeast 3rd.
Oh, Mr. Johnson. Go ahead, Ms. Eads.
Mr. Johnson, are these intended to be sold or leased properties?
Leased.
Okay, and you've requested essentially the revisions that Billy's referenced in the materials to change sort of the requirements on these properties in order to accommodate 2 parking spots per unit. Is that right?
No. The property would have 2 parking spots per unit. I requested a option to use a permeable parking solution versus concrete. but I am not hung up on that, happy to use concrete. It's actually less expensive to use concrete, but it's more attractive, it's green, it's permeable, that's a better option.
Let me ask you another question, Mr. Johnson. Given the request that you've made with regard to this request, discussion item 5 and discussion item 6, I believe is yours also, correct?
Say that again?
You have discussion item 6 also, the property at 219 East Jacobs, right? That one's yours also?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the request that you're making with regard to discussion item 5 and discussion item 6 both are changes compared to what the current code requires on these properties as far as setback and so forth from the frontage, correct?
No.
Okay. The information that I'm reading in here says that there's a difference with regard to setbacks. Somebody explain it to me.
I'm not asking for any variance on front setback.
Okay,
Side setbacks that he's requesting from 7 feet to 5 feet.
okay.
You do have in here, there's a variance request for the frontage from 70 feet to 50 feet.
Right.
Yes, sir. And that's a confusing statement. The frontage is actually the frontage on the street. And so when he requested to go to a different zoning district, it requires a little bit wider frontage. And so that's what he's requesting the variance for. And I think this one's 70 to 50 feet, from 50 to, the requirement's 50 feet, and he's requesting to 70 feet on the frontage. But this is not,
No, you said required by code is 70 feet, and the variance request is 50 feet.
okay.
Right.
So, right. So the request is for 70 for 50 feet. This is a existing lot which met requirements of the zoning then. This zoning district that he's asking for is required to have 70 feet, so he's asking for a variance to the existing 50 feet. But it is not a variance to the setback. This is the part where it meets the street, the width of the lot as it meets the street. The setback is from the right-of-way line to the front building line.
I promise I'm not trying to be difficult. I don't really grasp what you just tried to say setbacks were, and how, because, so, from the street to the building is what we're discussing, right?
No,
Okay.
the lot width along the street. So
All right.
when you look at the lot width and you're in the street, the lot width is that right now it is currently 50 feet, and he's asking for that variance from 70 feet to that existing 50 feet.
Okay,
The
and the
lot-
lot is
the front-
existing 50 feet wide as it is.
Yes, it's correct, it's 50 feet.
All right, I'm sorry, the frontage had me confused from
It
the
is.
street to the,
Right.
Yes, I've had to answer several questions on that, so.
So let me try this one again. With the requested modification, there is going to be the ability to be building residential structure in an area that currently does not allow for residential structure in the property immediately adjacent, everything that's zoned R6 in that area. Is that correct?
It's existing, actually it's existing R2F, which is duplex.
Okay,
And so
that
we
one
could-
is, it's number 6, I guess, that's existing is R6. So my
Yes.
apologies, but.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let me get to the heart of my question,
Okay.
and I think Mr. Johnson's gonna agree with me here in just a minute type of thing. I think we're actually gonna come to an agreement point, okay? Would it be fair to say that as a developer, Mr. Johnson, because of the lot sizes in this area, you need some requested concessions in order to design what you have proposed as this two-story duplex here and on the item that's discussion item 6, in order to build what you, and design what you want to put here?
With today's codes, the way they're written for residential, I would say yes. But my structure is 100% in the same footprint as it would be if it was just a single-family house. So there's no, all the setbacks on the side yards are 5 feet in the whole neighborhood. And I am more than 25 foot off the front, and I'm more than 20 feet, I think, or 15 off the back. So my structure fits 100% within any footprint that, no matter what you built there, it would be the same. My structure is two stories tall.
Right, which is different than what's in the neighborhood overall type of thing, except for the
No,
houses.
there's plenty of two-story structures. There's a two-story church next door, so.
Next
There's a
door.
two-story school down the street. There's
Yeah.
two-story
Okay, in terms
houses
of,
down the
let's try
street.
residential structures.
There's two-story houses in this neighborhood.
Right, you built some of them. They're still up for sale in the neighborhood.
There was existing
I'm aware,
ones. Mhm.
okay? I understand what you're saying, but again, you're putting a two-story structure into what is overall a one-story neighborhood, to where with a two-story structure, you have the ability to essentially be looking down into your neighbor's backyards in a way that you don't look across with a one-story structure.
A two-story structure, a two-story home in this neighborhood is permitted under all code.
Okay? Now, Billy, does he have to apply to put a two-story structure in this particular lot?
No, it's granted by right.
Does he have to apply to put a two-story structure in item number 6, or we can discuss that next? Either way.
It would be permitted by right.
Okay. So,
I won't answer this. I apologize.
okay.
We're through
Now-
the car warranty.
Let me bring you to my next question, Mr. Johnson. You know what an overlay district is, correct?
I do.
If this area of your proposed request was part of an overlay district that had latitude with regard to being able to build within, what I'll use, within the full track available to build within, would you have to go through all of these individualized requests with your plan?
Depending on the overlay and how it was worded, I don't know what the rules of the overlay would be, but I would say no if they were more lenient.
Hypothetically and I understand, we're not setting the terms of an overlay, but like, if you had an overlay district that granted latitude with regard to these issues that you're raising concerning the items you're proposing, that would be beneficial to you as a owner and developer doing these types of projects. Would that be
Yes.
fair?
Yes.
Okay. Because we're dealing with what would be considered a historic neighborhood here, and you've got what you've got in terms of the area and the lot sizes and so forth.
Yes.
Okay,
Any further questions?
I'm done.
I have a question for Billy, kind of, and maybe a little bit for Jeff as well. So, the request for the variance for the pervious hard surface, that allows water to soak through it instead of runoff.
Correct.
Can we look at making that not really a variance? Because I think having water soak through something would help some of our long-term drainage issues. Because you're no longer taking and making taking a surface that sucks up water like dirt does and then putting concrete on it.
Yeah, I definitely, those type of surfaces is where a lot of communities are going to, and if they're done correctly, they are a big advantage and cut down on
We can look
stormwater
into that,
runoff.
so it's no longer a
Um,
variance if done correctly, right?
Yes, sir, I think that's
We
something.
could
that
add
we
it to
could
the
do.
materials list of what we accept,
There you go.
similar to what they did in the Plaza District in Oklahoma City.
So I think that's
That's
actually
the
one of the things
same-
that we've been fighting on. One of the things we've been fighting since we first came on the council is what happens to the water as it goes
Right.
down. And Jeff said he wants to do this, he's requesting a variance, which is actually more expensive for him to do than the old way. I think that area is something that we should make as easy as possible for people who want to do this.
You know, the goal was to use this area for extra parking that could be needed, but not always needed, so.
And it doesn't look as unsightly as concrete does, type of
no,
thing.
Yeah, it can be granite, it can be grass, it can be lots of things.
But if it's grass, don't we get into a soft surface issue then? So is grass included in your list of materials?
No, I was gonna use slate or gravel, or granite.
Okay, so we're not gonna run into a problem for him, like with code enforcement, with soft surface parking on grass then, right? As long as he's using granite or gravel?
As long as it's ordered correctly and installed correctly, it shouldn't be an issue
Okay.
and maintained.
Mr. Stroh shaking his head yes.
No, he's shaking his head no. Do you wanna come join us on this one?
Anybody else, come on down.
Well,
I'll
I mean,
make
there's
that
no point in having him
determination, Mr.
install
Reed.
something that's gonna buy a code enforcement issue, so let's just,
The current way our soft surface ordinance reads is it must be an improved surface, and the improved surface is defined in our building code currently as asphalt to concrete. It only allows for a unimproved surface in a area parallel to the driveway, 10-foot horizontal distance on the side closest to the front door.
So let me ask you this, Mike. If this passes and we give him a variance for that, it will be under code because we gave him a variance, correct?
We would allow it under the building permit.
Would he, but per
I think
code,
that's a
would you have
question
to
for
potentially
Dawn.
ticket him at some point because it wasn't done up to code?
Don, that one's yours.
I guess the question I have, it sounds like we have some issues that we
Right,
need to take
let's,
into.
let's ask
Okay.
Mr. City Attorney here, because,
Well, if we approve we approve the variance, obviously, it's gonna fall under what's allowed by law, and code enforcement wouldn't be an issue, and this is,
Don's
an
lips never
approved
once moved. Good
surface.
job.
It's not gonna be grass, and it's not gonna be gravel, it's gonna be asphalt or concrete or Portland cement.
No, that's
So-
not what he's doing.
Hmm?
He's not doing asphalt or
If he-
concrete.
if
He's
you
asking for a
approve the
variance to
variance.
do a
Pervious,
pervious.
sir, okay, I stand corrected,
All right, now
but,
Don's lips can start moving and sound can come out.
The surface would appear as a hard surface as far as having an aggregate. He's correct. They may not know if I did put grass on it, and that's an option, is to grow grass on this, but it's still solid, like you can drive a dump truck on it, you know? But mine wasn't intended to be grass, so.
right, but if we approve a variance that allows that latitude, I think we're gonna run into a code enforcement problem that at least, in terms of reporting, goes to complaints of, you've got a vehicle parked on soft surface. So that's why,
So the
Don,
question,
can
I
you,
guess, is if we give a variance in the building, does that also give a variance to code, Don?
It would not give a variance to code per se. What you would end up with is a situation where we would have a permitted, the city would have issued a permit for the construction of an item, whatever that item might be. And then if there was some other way that that was an issue with our ordinances, that permit would give Mr. Johnson a defense to the action taken by Mr. Stroh or his staff. And most likely then would fall under a enforcement discretion issue with our city prosecutor, who probably would not move forward with that prosecution.
Billy, on the Reed Center on the north side, is this not the same construction where you can put a fire truck, but there's grass growing in between?
It's similar. He hasn't given us a detail of what he's talking about. But the thing that's on the north side is a textile that's put down and grass grows up through it and it's mowed and you can put anything, drive on it and everything like
So
that.
I think what we realize is we need to bring some codes or what is permissible to be used up into the 21st century, specifically since more and more stuff like this is being used all over the country to help mitigate water runoff and everything else.
Councilman Reed, we've been requesting to put the soft surface ordinance on, before the ordinance review committee for quite some time now, type of thing, because the language in that ordinance, in my personal opinion, is confusing and out of date. And I think the mayor is even nodding his head in agreement with me on that one. And additionally, it does not reflect the modern trends which Mr. Johnson is referencing as part of his proposal and which we've seen in other more modernized developments. So, you know.
So you think, since you guys are both on the on that committee, we can see something like this in the future come back to us?
We don't determine the agenda type of thing, but the
we
boss
can,
there
uh,
is.
we can encourage, obviously, this is one of the reasons why we have an ordinance review committee. Some of our ordinances are out of date and out of sync with what's going on in modern times, and this would be a high priority to bring back and approve the types of surfaces that Mr. Johnson's proposing. And that way, we don't get crossways with code
Enforcement.
enforcement and everything else. So, in answer to your question, yeah, it'll be coming back, and
And
we
it's-
will encourage it quickly.
It's the same reason, I apologize, Mayor, it's the same reason why we have been asking for an overlay district to come through ordinance review, because it avoids having to go through the degree of detail that's been put forward in this proposal because it gives latitude in areas such as the original mile in terms of not just what Mr. Johnson as a developer can do, but what current landowners can do in terms of replacing a garage. They don't have to agree to the X feet setback under current code for small lot sizes. They can essentially do away with that, and it gives broader latitude. So it gives broader latitude to developers, it gives broader latitude to the landowners there to be able to do what they want to do on their property.
Hey, are any of the residents that are against or for this here by chance?
Hadn't had any protests.
There are 2 protests for this one.
Right, I didn't know if any of them were here.
Oh,
Mm,
nobody signed up.
Nope.
I do want to add that Mr. Harless has stressed this for at least 20 years, that we need to have something in the soft surface, et cetera, because of situations like the Reed Center, et cetera. So it's not new, it's just that we have formed the committee now where you have multiple players at the table to discuss it instead of just the one-sided.
Well, I'm not the
enforcement side.
city manager, but I would probably put that high on my priority list to get back to us.
Just careful what you ask for.
Right.
We've done this once, and 6 months later, we didn't even
So,
write one sentence.
Councilman
that being
Reed,
said,
really
is there any
quickly-
further
sorry.
discussion on this particular
Just really quickly,
item?
the 2 protests are included in the packet of
I did read them,
materials.
I just wanted to make sure that there was nobody out here
Yeah.
who wanted to get up to speak.
And I did want to say one other thing. I lost Mr. Johnson. Oh, there he is. In that area, on Bab, there are a number of other duplexes within that area, just not 2-story duplexes,
Yeah,
but there
that
are
whole
other
street's
duplexes.
duplex.
There's some Kitty Hawk Key over on Bab, really close, really proximate to where you're proposing this. There are other duplexes in that area. So just as a point of discussion, having a duplex, which is one of the concerns that was expressed, there are a number of duplexes in that area. So with that, and I hate, Dawn, and I apologize up front, because you or the city prosecutor are going to get this. I hate to propose a bag of rocks type of thing on enforcement issues, but I agree wholeheartedly with Mr. Johnson's proposal to use an alternative surface material. And like I say, I support us changing our code with regard to those surface materials being used. So that being said, I'd move to approve this item with the discussion points raised by Billy's group.
Second.
I have a motion and I have a second. Any further discussion?
I did.
Soja made a motion to approve.
And again, subject to the comments that Billy's group put in there.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Next item, Mr. Lyon.
PC 2096, public hearing with discussion and consideration for adoption, including any possible amendment of an ordinance to redistrict from R6 single-family residential to SPUD simplified plan unit development governed by R2F, two-family attached residential district, and a resolution to amend the comprehensive plan from LDR, low-density residential, to medium-density residential. Subject to staff comments for the property described as Lot 20, Block 5 of the Pine Edition, addressed at 219 East Jacobs Drive. Mr. Harless.
Thanks, Mr. Lyon. This request is to rezone the property from R6 single-family resident to SPUD governed by R2F, two-family attached residential. The applicant is proposing a single-structure, 2-story duplex to develop on this lot. The applicant is requesting variances to the minimum lot size, minimum lot width, and minimum side setback requirements of the area regulations and standards of the R2F two-family attached residential district. The structure will be served by a single access point from East Jacobs Drive. The lot does have access to city sewer and water. As the writing of this, staff has not received any protest to the rezoning. Action is the discretion of the City Council, and Planning Commission recommended approval. And those
Billy, you don't have,
variances are similar to what we discussed before.
you haven't subsequently received any protest on this project, correct?
Not as mid-afternoon.
Okay.
Nothing.
Basically only a side yard.
And the use of the, maybe word impervious surface type of thing, and another one that you're working on is also.
No, man, it's a concrete driveway. Pardon me, thank you.
No, it's not on the,
But he's not asking for the same variance on that, this one.
And the first page on the cover of that, that one includes.
There's a statement there towards the bottom of the paragraph.
I'm sorry, it just says that he will meet those. Not that he's asking for a
Not what
variance.
he's asking for, sorry, I must be mixing these up, I apologize. So this one, you're gonna just use concrete on, is that,
Yes, just normal concrete driveway.
sorry.
any further discussion or questions of Mr.
Second,
Johnson?
this is gonna be duplex also and for lease properties, Mr. Johnson?
Yes. They could be purchased.
This is a public hearing. Does anyone in the audience have anything to offer on this particular item?
What was your comment, I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
I said they could be purchased.
It could be purchased.
Yeah.
I would just make the same comment, like my concern about this is the two-story structure, but again, there are duplexes in the area. It does give us another, variety of housing type of thing. And, I'll be honest with you, Mr. Johnson, on this one. I kind of wish you were going to use an alternative material just because I would like to see that become something that is implemented, so. But that being said, subject to Billy's comments on this notation, I move to approve it. We don't have anybody else.
I have a motion and I have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Thanks.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Item number 7, Mr. Lyon.
PC 2097, discussion consideration for adoption, including any possible amendment or approval of the final plat of Freedom Villas, described as a part of the southeast quarter of Section 35, Township 12 North, Range 2 West. Mr. Harless.
Thanks, Mr. Lyon. This is a request to approve a final plat to be subdivided in a single parcel into 18 individual parcels and 36 dwelling units for 2-family residential development. The preliminary plat was approved in August of 2020. All public improvements required with the preliminary plat have been installed or bonded. The applicant has also provided staff a copy of the covenants that will govern the development of this addition. The city attorney has reviewed the HOA covenants and found them to be in compliance with Section 38-50 of the subdivision regulations. The Parkland Review Committee approved the fee in lieu of parkland dedication. The applicant paid the fee September 8th, 2021. The final plat is in compliance with the approved preliminary plat and subdivision regulations. Planning Commission recommended approval, and action is at the discretion of the City Council. Glad to answer any questions.
Any questions, Mr. Harless? Hearing none, Chair to entertain a motion. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye. Oppose.
Abstentions. Since we do have a negative vote, we will have to go to a roll call vote. Mrs. City Clerk?
Ward 1,
Yes.
2, 3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5,
Yes.
6,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Item number 8, Mr. Lyon.
PC 2098, public hearing with discussion and consideration for adoption, including any possible amendment of an ordinance to redistrict from C1, restricted commercial, to PUD, planned unit development governed by the C1, restricted commercial, and R6, single-family detached residential districts, and a resolution to amend the comprehensive plan from PSP to public, public to commercial, and LDR, low-density residential, subject to staff comments for the property described as part of the southwest quarter, section 36, township 12 north, range due west, addressed as 9035 East Reno Avenue. Mr. Harless.
Thanks again, Mr. Line. This request is to rezone the property from C1 residential commercial to PUD governed by C1 residential commercial and R6 single-family detached residential. The property was rezoned from single-family residential to restricted commercial in 1981. Following the approval of that application, the structure was converted from commercial to residential. The applicant has met with staff and asked about using the structure for both single-family residential and restricted commercial use. No base zoning districts in the Midwest City allow for both residential and commercial use, which is for the purpose of the PUD application. If approved, the applicant will convert a portion of the interior of the existing structure into residence. No special development regulations are being requested. Any commercial use of this property must be a use allowed by right in C1 district. As of this writing, staff has not received any protest to this rezoning. Planning Commission recommended approval, and action is at the discretion of the council, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions, Mr. Harless?
I just have a comment. So they're gonna use it as half home, as a residence, and the other half is the home-based business?
Yes, ma'am.
This is a public hearing. Does anyone in the audience have anything to say about this particular item?
I'm not the audience, but I do have a quick question, sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
I was a little confused by the executive summary on this one, where it says that no base zoning districts in the city allow for both residential and commercial use. But this use with the residence and the home-based business will be allowable?
Yes. So the zoning districts don't encompass everything. You can't, they don't cover everything. It's kind of similar as the turbine thing earlier. Who would ever think that something like that would be coming in? And so it gives the director, me, a little bit of allowance or leeway to see if it fits in a district. And I talk with staff, and we talk about the implications of that, and we bring it through the council to make sure that it seeks approval and to see if there's any issues with that. So that's what that sentence means.
What kind of home-based business is it? Are you the applicant? Why don't y'all come on down? Please state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Bonnie Patterson, and my address is 1108 Huntington Avenue in Oklahoma City.
What kind of home-based business are you going to be running?
Well, I'm actually renting this to a friend who has a sewing business, and so she does custom sewing. And currently, the structure still looks like a house. David Clampett had his office there for many years, and he didn't change the inside of the structure. It still has the bedrooms in the original place, the kitchen, the bathrooms, everything's still there. The only change that was made was the fact that that my father-in-law had put in a handicap ramp and then a parking lot for 7 vehicles. And the garage was converted into office space. So
Okay.
basically, it still looks like a home when you drive by. So I have been having trouble with the city because they won't allow me to have anyone live there and have a little business. So with the pandemic, a lot of people are now, looking into that type of alternative lifestyle. So
Okay.
that's why I'm asking for this.
Well, thank you very much for that explanation. Does anyone have any questions of the applicant?
Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. I may have just zoned out for just a second, but Billy, I'm directing this one to you. I'm sorry. So if I understand now, if we approve this, she will have the ability to have both the residence and the home-based business in this locale, correct?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I
Any
may
further-
need a little more sugar or something type of thing. I got lost there for just a second. I was like,
And said, I would like to ask a question.
That's all right.
I'm sorry. I
And
was
it's a
like, wait a
parking
minute.
for
It happens
7?
to read all the time.
Is
Is there any further discussion?
You say it's a parking for 7 cars, so it won't be that congested, will it? I mean, people, okay.
It has 2 egress
I know exactly.
Oh,
I know exactly.
okay, all right.
All right. With that being said, I'd entertain a motion.
Second.
Hold on. Oh, this is a public hearing. Does anyone have anything to offer on this particular issue other than the applicant? Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item number 9. Thank you for being here,
Thank you.
ma'am. I appreciate it.
So items 9, 10, and 11, for context, are the recommendations from the Ordinance Review Committee. So the first one is number 9, discussion consideration for adoption, including any amendments of an ordinance amending the Midwest City Municipal Code, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 8, Purchasing, Section 2-116 generally, and 125 when bidding not required, and providing a repealer and severability of an effective date.
This was a law change from last year, correct?
Somewhat, yes. The law changed last year, increasing the amount for construction contracts for state or any subdivision of the state, including municipalities, from 50,000 to 100,000, but it did not allow it for public trusts. We had never upped ours from 25 at all, which is what it was originally set. So this change would allow contracts that are done by the city that are now under $50,000 not to come before the city council, to go before the city manager, allow those contracts less than 50,000 not to have to be bid. And then we also did not have a sole source provision in our city ordinances, allowing us to follow the state requirements when we have a sole source situation. So this change also adds that to the recommended changes by the Ordinance Review Committee.
Any questions? Entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Next item, Mr. Lyon.
Discussion in item number 10, discussion consideration for adoption, including any amendments of an ordinance amending the Midwest City Municipal Code, Chapter 5, Alcoholic Beverages, Article 2, Alcoholic Beverages, Article 4, Occupation Tax, various sections, and providing for repealer, severability, effective date. Mr. Mosh.
Once again, these are changes to the Midwest City ordinances that bring us into compliance with the most recently made changes to alcoholic beverages that are in state statute. There is a preemption provision now in state statute that keeps municipalities from issuing permits for anybody who meets the requirements under this section. So most of this is repealing our city ordinances that required a city permit. We are still able to collect an occupational tax. So if you looked at the changes, you'll notice there's many different occupations that are listed in there. Those are all the ones listed in state statute. And the occupational tax is that is required by state statute. So we just mirrored exactly what current state law is, so that we can continue to receive the occupational tax under that we're allowed to under state law. And just so you know, all three of these will go into effect if adopted. We put an effective date of December 1st of 2021 on all of these.
Move to approve.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Next item.
Item 11, discussion consideration for adoption, including any amendments of an ordinance amending the Midwest City Municipal Code, Chapter 7, Amusements, Article 4, Circuses and Carnivals, Section 7-50, License, and 7-52, Insurance, providing for repealer, severability, and an effective date. Don.
So Mr. Josh Ryan back there was the genesis of these changes. As he was working on our special event permits, he recognized in our city ordinances that we had a permit for circuses and carnivals And you could have a circus and carnival that could meet a special event permit, meet the terms of a special event permit, but fall under this and not have to meet any of the requirements of a special event permit. So what we did in here was require circuses and carnivals that would meet the definition of a special event permit to also obtain a special event permit. We also discovered during this that we had not updated the fee in over 20 years. So we took the CPI and updated the fee, which increases the fee for this permit from $20 to $40. And also, we had not updated our insurance requirements to our current standards that we have. So that was also done within this ordinance. Ordinance Review Committee has reviewed this and recommended approval. Happy to take any
So
questions.
will this require us to get a permit for council?
Depending on what happens at council, potentially. Depends if you want to call it a circus or a carnival.
I thought that would get a laugh out of everybody.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries.
I just want to say really quickly, thank you, though, to Josh in the back for bringing this up type of thing, because, again, us being able to get things updated and brought current is of paramount importance, and thank you, Don, for your work on all of these. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Now move into new business public discussion. Does anyone have anything to bring forth council? Seeing or hearing none, I've been advised that we have a parliamentary error. Since we did have a no vote on the consent agenda, we need to go back to the consent agenda, reopen it up, indicate or what item is to be pulled, and then vote on it accordingly. So we now move back to the consent agenda, and again, these items are placed on the consent agenda for approval by all council or the audience. If any one item is to be discussed, to be heard in regular order, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of the item that was opposed to.
I'm going to request to go back and just re-vote on the consent agenda, and I'm going to pull my objection to the previous consent agenda. So
Fair enough.
if we could just do that as a unanimous affirmation
That
instead.
being said, and
that
that
work,
is your
Dawn?
wish, Ms. Eads?
That is my wish, if that works for Dawn on the parliamentary piece.
With that being said,
Motion to approve consent.
Nope, just change my vote.
so we're good to go. We don't have to revote.
There we go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dawn.
Okay, we do have an executive session attached to this agenda. Mr. Lyon.
Discussion and consideration of entering into executive session is allowed under Title 25, Section 307B4, discuss confidential communications between a public body and its attorney concerning a pending investigation, claim, or action if the public body, with the advice of its attorney, determines that disclosure will seriously impair the ability of the public body to process the claim or conduct a pending investigation, litigation, or proceeding in the public interest, and two, authorizing the city manager to take action as appropriate based on discussion.
I would ask the council's indulgence in the fact that this same executive session is mirrored on another agenda, that we vote to recess and go ahead and get through the rest of the agendas and then come back to this.
Move to
Motion.
recess.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? We're recessed from the city council agenda, and does anybody need a potty break?
I thought we just pressed through because we're just on consent.
Okay, great.
Like,
All right, I now call to order the Midwest City Municipal Authority. We do have a consent agenda, and I would entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. New business and public discussion. Does anyone have anything to bring before the authority? Hearing or seeing none, we are hereby adjourned, and I call to order the Midwest City Hospital Authority. We have two discussion items.
Discussion item 1, discussion consideration for adoption, including any possible amendments of the October 12th, 2021 meeting minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Item number 2.
No action needed.
No action indicated for item number 2. We move into new business public discussion. Does anyone in the audience have anything to bring before the authority? Hearing or seeing none, once again, the same executive session is mirrored on this agenda. We will move on and adjourn.
Recess.
Recess, I'm sorry.
Motion to
Move to
recess.
second.
I've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention. We are hereby recessed from the Hospital Authority, and I call to order the Economic Development Commission agenda. We do have a consent agenda. These items are placed on the consent agenda so that the commissioners, by unanimous consent, can approve routine agenda items by one motion. If any item proposed does not meet with the approval of all the commissioners or members of the audience which discuss an item, it will be removed and heard in regular order. I'd entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion and a second. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Discussion item.
Discussion item is review of the Midwest City Chamber of Commerce Quarterly Activity Report for the period ending September 30, 2021. No action is necessary. This item is presented for informational discussion purpose only. Marcy is going to come up and give us a report.
Our new executive director,
executive
Ms. Marcy.
Well, good evening. Good evening, and I like both of your hats. My daddy went to Oklahoma A&M, so I like both of your hats. But this is my first report, and as promised to your city manager, I promised him bullet points, and so he got bullet points. But it has been a busy first period of time for me, and I hope for the city as well moving forward. The Community Marketing Committee meetings have been very productive, and that has a lot to do with Josh and Susan and all the others in the community as we gather, because we're all promoting the same product, and that is Midwest City. And so any way that we can cross-promote and extend that, it helps everyone's budget. So I look forward to a lot more opportunities to do that. Of course, we had our first full membership meeting so that everyone could meet the new kid on the block and again kick off more in-person networking gatherings that we've all been looking forward to. And then I had the pleasure of touring the Reed Center and the hotel, all the new construction, several other businesses, got a driving tour of all the development sites. Mr. Coleman is an excellent tour guide, so I think he missed his calling. He may need to be in that industry as well. We have not heard back on the Urban League grant. I thank you very much for that letter of support. Have not heard back from that. My concern is that we will not get it, or the Urban League will not be awarded that. I wish we would. And I'm telling you what, we just had a phenomenal experience with the job fair. Continue to get good comments on that. I hope that you all continue to receive good comments on that. Tinker and the Primes was an amazing success. You all are aware of that. It is not an extremely large conference, and believe me, I've been to them, and you all have been to them, tens of thousands of people. It is the right people meeting with the right people in the right situation. And that is here, and that is in Midwest City, and that is near Tinker. And so we want to continue making that happen and continue to give those right people more opportunities to meet with more of the right people. So that is very focused on the experience of those that attend. And so as you can imagine, a tremendous amount of time goes into planning that. Those kind of conferences, as you all know, city management is similar. Things don't just happen. They happen because we strategically plan for them to happen. We have the right meetings with the right people to help that be a success. And so we are looking forward to next year being a success, because we've already, the many booths have already been sold in sponsorships. So people are looking forward to coming back for that next year. So I have been able to and blessed to experience change of commands at Tinker, which I consider an incredible honor. You don't leave one of those without just swelling with pride and patriotism. And I feel the same way after 12 years of experience at Vance Air Force Base events, but Tinker's, of course, on a much more grand scale, obviously, but it just touches my heart, and I'm even more grateful for those. Of course, we had Celebrating Education. So I got started off early with a lot of rather large events, but as we move forward, because we know when it comes to economic development, school system is critical. Supporting that education in all forms, whether it's Rose State College, it's Mid-Del Technology Center, or it's education, that is critical for economic development, for workforce development, for retention, for keeping people, families, workers here, and continuing to give them opportunities to work here and reasons to stay in school so that they can get employed here. Very, very important as we go forth supporting education. Picnic with Protectors in Public Works, what a great event. I'm telling you, that was fun with a purpose. I really enjoyed it and very, very grateful for what they do. So, and of course, we've started Youth Excel through this time and had the golf tournament, and just Youth Excel warms my heart as well. That's a tremendous program. There again, I think anytime you invest time into leadership development, mentorship, into students, it comes back to your community. And as you know, that anytime, and we develop that students, we develop our businesses, because to have a healthy economy, a healthy community, we need a healthy economy, and we're here to help you make that happen. So I look forward to doing more with you in many ways that we can partnership, and I'd be glad to answer any of your questions, or if anyone has any.
Anybody have any questions, Marcy? Thanks for being here and enduring our meeting. And
I'm going to go home and batten down the hatches and hope I don't get to crawl into that place that's in my garage.
Fraidy hole.
Yes, I'd just as soon not. Thank you very much. But
I'd like to point out our staff very much enjoys working with Ms. Jarrett, and we're off to a great start. So we're glad you're here and you're doing a great job.
well, thank you. I'm enjoying it very much. Everyone's made me feel very welcome, and I think we're stronger together because we're all part of Team Midwest City, and that's what's important. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, there's no further action needed on that. It was just a report. So I would entertain a motion to reconvene. We do have new business public discussion. Does anybody have anything to bring before the authority? Hearing or seeing none, we're hereby, I would entertain a motion to reconvene. What?
Motion to adjourn.
You have to adjourn first. Come on now.
We have to go back to.
You know, I've done this for 5 years. Be nice to him. I'm just saying.
We're hereby adjourned.
Motion to.
Now, we need to reconvene the Midwest City Council agenda, and so I need a motion to
Christine
reconvene.
made a motion. I make a
Motion.
Got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
We're reconvened, and we are now in executive session. Ma'am, we got through that.
Okay, I make a motion that we go into executive session for the Midwest City Council agenda, executive session, and at the same time, make a motion, similar motion for executive session for the hospital authority.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention. We're hereby in executive session. Thank you very much. Have a good night.